I live in a small town where the streetlights turn off after midnight to save money. It creates a suffocating darkness that makes everything feel 10 times scarier than it actually is. Last month, my insomnia was hitting hard. It was around 2:30 a.m. and I had completely run out of coffee. I knew I couldn't survive the next day of work without it. So I decided to drive to the only 24-hour gas station, which is about 5 miles down a lonely county road. The drive was quiet. I didn't pass a single car. When I pulled into the gas station, the lot was empty except for the clerk's beat-up sedan. I parked under the flickering overhead light, the kind that buzzes loud enough to hear through the window. I walked inside, greeted the tired clerk with a nod, and headed straight for the coffee aisle. That's when the bell above the door jingled. I assumed it was another local, maybe a trucker. I didn't look up immediately. I was focused on grabbing a bag of dark roast, but then I noticed the silence. Usually, you hear footsteps, the squeak of sneakers on linoleum, or the sound of someone heading to the coolers, but there was nothing, just the hum of the refrigerators. I glanced over my shoulder down the main aisle. Standing right at the entrance, just past the automatic doors, was a man. He was tall, wearing a dirty gray hoodie with the hood up, and he wasn't moving. He wasn't looking at the shelves, he was looking directly at me. His hands were stuffed deep into his pockets, and he stood so still he looked like a mannequin. I tried to brush it off. I grabbed my coffee and started walking toward the counter. As I moved, his head turned slowly to track me. It wasn't natural, it was mechanical. I placed the coffee on the counter, and the clerk, a young guy named Mike, looked pale. He was staring at the man too. Mike whispered to me, "He's been standing outside the glass for an hour before you got here. He just came in." My stomach dropped. I paid quickly, my hands shaking as I tapped my card. I grabbed the receipt and turned to leave, forcing myself to walk past the guy. As I got closer, I smelled him a mix of old sweat and something metallic, like copper or blood. He didn't blink. As I passed him, he whispered one word. Finally, I pushed through the doors and practically ran to my car. I fumbled with my keys, dropped them, picked them up, and threw myself into the driver's seat. I locked the doors instantly. When I looked up, the man was already at my window. He slammed his fist against the glass, screaming silently, his face twisted into a rage that didn't match his calm eyes. I threw the car into reverse and peeled out of the lot. As I sped onto the main road, I checked my rearview mirror. He was standing in the middle of the parking lot, watching me go. Then, I saw him run toward the woods behind the station, not toward a car. He was on foot. I drove 80 miles per hour all the way home. I called the police as soon as I pulled into my driveway. They patrolled the area but found no one. Mike, the clerk, quit the next day. He told police the man had stood outside smiling at the security camera for 3 hours straight before I arrived. I don't go out past midnight anymore. This happened 2 years ago when I was working as a courier for a medical supply company. I often had to transport sensitive equipment between hospitals in rural Oregon. It was a long drive, usually taking me through dense forests where cell service is non-existent. I was on a route I had driven 100 times. It was pouring rain, the kind that makes your wipers useless. Around 1 a.m., I saw a bright orange road closed sign blocking the main 2-lane highway. This was strange. I hadn't seen any construction alerts on my GPS. The sign pointed me toward a narrow gravel logging road as a detour. I hesitated. My gut told me something was wrong. But the barrier looked solid, and I had a deadline. I turned onto the gravel road. The trees were thick, creating a tunnel of darkness. I drove for about 15 minutes, bumping over potholes, driving slower and slower. The road seemed to be leading nowhere. Then, I saw it. A car was stopped in the middle of the narrow track with its hazards on. It was a white SUV, and the driver's side door was wide open. A woman was standing in the rain, waving her arms frantically. She looked terrified, her clothes soaked. My first instinct was to help. I slowed down, rolling my window down just a crack. "Please," she screamed over the rain. "My baby, he's stuck. Please help." I started to unlock my door, but then my headlights swept across the forest line to the left of her car. For a split second, the light caught a reflection. It was the reflective strip on a pair of boots. Someone was hiding behind the tree line, crouching low. Then I looked back at the woman. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at my door handle, her hand reaching into her jacket pocket. The look in her eyes wasn't fear. It was anticipation. I slammed my foot on the gas. The tires spun in the mud for a terrifying second before gripping. The woman lunged at my car, slamming her hand against the passenger window. As I sped past, 3 men burst out of the woods holding what looked like tire irons and baseball bats. They chased the car for about 20 feet before giving up. I didn't stop driving until I hit the next town, nearly 40 miles away. I pulled into a police station, shaking uncontrollably. When the officers went to check the location, the road closed sign on the main highway was gone. It had been moved. The white SUV was gone, too. but they found tire tracks and cigarette butts in the woods where the men had been waiting. They told me it was a common trap in that area, lure a driver into a dead zone, block them in, and rob them of the cargo. If I had unlocked that door, I wouldn't be here. I'm a long-haul trucker, so sleeping in rest stops is part of the job. You get used to the weirdos, the lot lizards, and the noise. But this night in Nevada was different. I was parked at a rest area off I-80, miles from civilization. It was dead silent, no other trucks, just my rig in the desolate desert wind. I woke up around 3 a.m. needing to use the bathroom. The facilities were in a concrete building about 50 yards from where I parked. I grabbed my flashlight and walked over. The automatic lights inside flickered on with a sickly yellow buzz. The place smelled of bleach and something rotting. I went into the middle stall and sat down. It was dead quiet. Then, I heard the heavy metal door at the entrance open. Footsteps echoed on the tile. Slow, deliberate steps. They stopped right in front of the sinks. I waited for the sound of water or a hand dryer, but there was nothing. Just silence. Then, a soft whistling started. It was a nursery rhyme. Mary had a little lamb, but slow and off-key. The footsteps started moving again. They walked past the first stall and stopped right in front of mine. I could see dirty black boots under the gap in the door. The whistling stopped. The person stood there for what felt like 5 minutes. I held my breath, terrified to make a sound. Then, the boots turned. He wasn't walking away. He was turning to face my stall door. Suddenly, the lock on my door jiggled. Gently at first, then harder. "I know you're in there," a gravelly voice whispered. My heart hammered against my ribs. I saw a hand slide under the stall door. It was holding a small rusted mirror, angling it up to try and look at me. I stomped on the hand with my heavy work boot as hard as I could. The man screamed a guttural animalistic sound. He yanked his hand back and I heard him stumble. I didn't wait. I kicked the stall door open, slamming it into him. He fell back onto the wet tiles. He was huge, wild-eyed with a matted beard. I didn't look back. I sprinted out of the bathroom and ran for my truck. I heard him running after me, his heavy boots slapping the pavement. I jumped into my cab and locked the doors just as he reached the handle. He started pounding on the door, screaming incoherently, smearing blood from his crushed hand all over the glass. I fired up the engine and released the brakes, pulling away as he continued to chase the truck on foot. He didn't stop running until I hit the highway ramp. I watched him in my side mirror, standing alone under the harsh streetlights, holding his broken hand, just watching me leave. I drive an extra 4 hours now just to avoid stopping in that county. I was driving back to college after Thanksgiving break. It's a 6-hour drive from my parents' house, mostly through rural farmland in Ohio. I left late, around 9 p.m., to avoid traffic. By midnight, I was the only car on the road, surrounded by endless cornfields. I noticed a set of headlights in my rearview mirror. They were far back, just 2 pinpricks of light. I didn't think much of it until about 10 minutes later when I realized they were getting closer fast. I was doing 70 in a 55, and this guy was gaining on me like I was standing still. It was a black pickup truck. It flew up behind me and sat on my bumper inches away. The headlights were blinding in my mirror. I tapped my brakes to tell him to back off, but he didn't move. I slowed down and moved to the shoulder slightly to let him pass. He swerved right with me, staying behind. Okay, I thought, just a jerk. I sped up to 80. He matched me instantly. Then, he turned on his high beams. My entire car flooded with blinding white light. I couldn't see anything in front of me. I flipped my rearview mirror down, but the side mirrors were still blinding me. Suddenly he turned the high beams off. Darkness returned. Then, 3 seconds later, flash, high beams on, then off, then on. He was signaling me. I started to panic. Was something wrong with my car? Was my trunk open? I rolled my window down and waved him past. He pulled up alongside me, driving in the oncoming lane. His windows were tinted pitch black. I couldn't see the driver. He matched my speed perfectly, driving side by side with me at 80 miles per hour on a 2-lane road. Then, he started drifting into my lane. He was trying to run me off the road. I honked and swerved onto the gravel shoulder, barely keeping control of the car. The truck slammed on its brakes, dropping behind me again. My phone had no signal. I was terrified. Up ahead, I saw the lights of a small town. I floored it, pushing my old Honda Civic to its limit. The truck stayed right with me. As soon as we hit the town limits and passed the first street lamp, the truck did a sudden U-turn in the middle of the road. Tires screeched and he sped off back into the darkness, headed the way we came. I pulled into a gas station in the town and ran inside, shaking. I asked the attendant if there was a police station nearby. He looked at me and said, "Let me guess, black pickup, high beams." I nodded, unable to speak. "You're the 3rd one this month," he said grimly. "We call him the Shepherd. He tries to herd cars off the road into the ditch just to see them crash. Police can never catch him because he knows the back roads better than they do." I spent the night in a motel in that town. I couldn't bring myself to get back on that dark highway. I still flinch every time someone flashes their high beams at me.